Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. The St. Lucia Fire Service responded to a vehicular accident involving a minibus on Sunday, the 28th of June. The incident left 13 passengers and 1 driver nursing injuries. It took place in the scenic town of Soufrière. Leading firefighter Stacy Joseph has the details.
The Soufrière Fire Station received a call on Sunday, June 28th at approximately 1:25 p.m. informing of a motor vehicular incident on the Sugar Beach Road in Soufrière. Information received stated that the driver of a minibus carrying 13 passengers lost control of the vehicle, causing a collision with a utility pole. The 13 passengers and the driver all sustained minor non-life-threatening injuries. Their wounds were treated and they were subsequently transported to the Soufrière Hospital for further medical treatment.
Another incident took place in the southern town of Vieux Fort, which left 1 man nursing lacerations to his head. Emergency personnel took to the scene after receiving a distress call.
Emergency personnel at the Vieux Fort Fire Station responded to a distress call in Pero, Vieux Fort on Saturday, 27th June at 8:55 p.m. Information received stated that a male individual was physically assaulted. The responding officers found the patient with what appeared to be multiple lacerations to his head. His wounds were immediately treated and he was transported in a critical but stable condition to the St. Jude Hospital for further emergency medical treatment.
The individual involved is said to be in stable condition under the observation of medical personnel. The World Health Organization, WHO, has warned the world that the worst is yet to come in the COVID-19 pandemic. The WHO head said the virus would infect many more people if governments did not start to implement the right policies. His message remained: test, trace, isolate, and quarantine. More than 10 million cases have been recorded worldwide since coronavirus emerged in China late last year. The number of patients who died is now above 500,000. Half the world's cases have been put in the US and Europe, but COVID-19 is rapidly growing in the Americas. The virus is also affecting South Asia and Africa, where it is not expected to peak until the end of July. In other news, Archbishop Robert Rivas says though it is very unlikely that Jesus truly was the Caucasian man commonly depicted, it is just as unlikely that he was black. Rivas says that instead of ripping down existing artifacts as suggested, depicting white Jesus of course, people should look to create a depiction of him as part of their own race. Shaka Wooding has more.
As social media continues to debate the depiction of a colored Jesus, religious leaders are beginning to pay attention to these discussions. When approached for his views on the matter, Archbishop Robert Rivas says that the creation of an accurate depiction of Jesus would prove very difficult. However, he personally doubts the religious figure was of African descent.
I don't know what color was Jesus' skin, his real original color. But, if we have to tone it down a little bit, maybe we can tone it down. But he definitely would not have been of African descent, it would have been more some kind of an olivey color. So I don't know how we would depict that. And if we are trying to depict a Christ that is of a color that is nearer the original, we may have to do a lot of research.
He says if Christ represents the entire human race, why not allow different ethnic groups to have their own depictions of a Christ with their own race and features?
Why could we not have black images of Christ, olive images of Christ, or even whiter images of Christ, because we have different races and Jesus represents all races. St. Paul says there is no longer Greek, nor Jews, nor Greek, slaves or free. We are all one in Christ Jesus. There's all those distinctions. St. Paul says all those distinctions are gone now. In Christ, we are all one.
The following image has been released claiming to be the most historically accurate depiction of Christ. Though it may be very different from what is traditionally known, historians believe that given the heritage and time period of Jesus' lifespan, his features would be much less Eurocentric than what is currently being embraced. Jacka Wooding, Hot 7 News.
The presence of Saharan dust is currently limiting shower activity associated with a weak tropical wave affecting the Eastern Caribbean. However, a doctor continues to urge the public to take precautionary measures. He urges people to do a bit more cleaning around their homes and offices to limit the amount of time spent outdoors and to stock up on necessary medication. The concentration of Saharan dust around the Caribbean region should begin diminishing soon. However, while the layers of dust continue to settle on everything, a general practitioner, Dr. Kedma Dor, has warned St. Lucians to continue taking precaution, especially if they are already suffering with respiratory issues.
Those of you who have the sinus irritation from time to time, just pop your allergy medication once a day as needed for the next week or two while this dust is in the environment, and it should prevent you from having too much of a reaction or too many of the symptoms. The asthmatics and the COPD should do the same thing. In addition, use some filters. Air filters might help. Clean your window nets often enough. Plants generally help. As we were speaking about a while ago, you might notice in a more forested area the effect might not be as much. Okay, so generally clean your environment, you wipe down. Rather than sweep, you might want to mop, so you want to raise up the dust. And allergy medication should go a long way in helping. There are some over the counter.
He says that face masks used to help mitigate the spread of COVID-19 can also be used as a filter for dust. As such, he is making a special appeal to members of the public to wear their mask when venturing out.
The mask would serve as a barrier, so a filter, to further prevent the dust from affecting you. So yeah, wearing the mask, luckily for us right now, we all should be wearing masks, so it would help in this case. So continue wearing a mask. If you thought that because we don't have any active cases I shouldn't wear a mask, here's another reason to wear your mask. We have Sahara dust. Please keep the mask on.
The doctor explained that the plume of dust is a natural occurrence, and while people need to be careful, it is not a phenomenon that should cause panic. He's advising people to limit the amount of time spent outdoors, especially people with asthma and sinusitis. You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more coming up after the break.